Multiple Steelers updates. Is George Pickens good as gone? Plus, who has the edge in the Russell Wilson versus Justin Fields battle for next year's starting quarterback? And what free agent wide receiver are the Steelers all over this offseason trying to bolster their wide receiving core heading into 2025-26? An abysmal display of offense during the final hurrah of this last season. So now we head into next season expecting some big changes. This video will be highlighting some of those huge changes that the Steelers are going to be making in the coming weeks, including the quarterback position and the wide receiver position, specifically in this video on this episode of Steelers Digest. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Please, for me, 91% of you have not yet subscribed. If you're watching these videos and you want the latest updates throughout the offseason, draft, free agency, trades, whatever may happen, join this channel, join this community of Steelers fans and Steelers Nation. We got you covered here on Steelers Digest. Let's jump right into it, talking about the quarterback position. Quarterback questions are always surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers since Ben Roethlisberger retired, really. But as more recently, last season, it was a battle between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields for the starting spot. Justin Fields started the season as the starting quarterback, and then Russell Wilson ultimately took over, and the Steelers went 6-6 with him under center. So people are asking the question this offseason, who is the guy going into next year? Well, I have the answer for you, at least an educated guess of who may be the guy heading into next season. This is not a guarantee, folks, but right now we are hearing all kinds of buzz about Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith's troubled relationship last season. Reports surfaced during this year that offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson were really not on the same page. Despite Wilson and Smith not agreeing, well, I'm not even going to read that to you guys. You guys can read it for yourself if you really want to, but basically my takeaway from this is that Arthur Smith wanted Justin Fields to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Mike Tomlin had other plans. And that has something to do with Arthur Smith interviewing for these head coaching positions now, because he has a better idea what kind of personnel he wants for his offense. And if Mike Tomlin isn't going to do what Arthur Smith wants, well, then Arthur Smith is gone. Whether or not he wants to be gone, he's going to be gone either way, because the Steelers are cleaning house this offseason and turning this team around as best they can. It's a very difficult offseason as Steelers fans. We see these quarterback questions all the time, but right now it's really a matter of who is more likely between Fields and Wilson. We understand the Steelers might draft a quarterback. They could go after Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. They could get a late round pick like Will Howard, Kyle McCord. We'll talk about that in the next video or next video after that. At some point during the offseason, we're going to talk about that. I can tell you that right now. But as of now, what we have to focus on is who is already on the roster. And last season, that was Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So between those two, the simplest question that you can ask me is, which of those two is more likely to be on the team next year? And my answer is Justin Fields. It is reported that 60-40 is the percentage chance that either of these quarterbacks is the starter for the Steelers or even remains with the team next year. My vote is for Justin Fields to be the guy, give him a 3-year deal, and then draft a quarterback either this year or next year. Justin Fields ultimately being the guy for the Steelers, but you still have to have a quarterback behind him, whether it be, somebody from the draft or a free agent, maybe a veteran. I don't know, but you can't afford to keep Fields and Wilson after last year. You got to pick one, and my vote is Fields, and the rumors have been circulating that it is Fields that should be the guy for the Steelers, at least a better chance than Russell Wilson at this point, as far as which of these quarterbacks should be the Steelers quarterback next year. You look at what Colin Cowherd said. Obviously, this guy is feeding off blasphemous takes that he always throws out there. Never any merit to them at all. But him and Stephen A. Smith and all the other people on ESPN, Fox, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're just trying to get clicks. And Colin Cowherd, again, throws this crazy take out there that the Steelers should just risk it all and throw it all away on Shedeur Sanders if they think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Of course, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, but why should the Steelers trade up to the number 1 pick to get Shedeur Sanders? It makes literally no sense. It would never happen. Colin Cowherd, I just have to push that off to the side. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything to us. And this is another thing that doesn't mean anything to us. All the rumors about Aaron Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh, can we stop with this stuff? Aaron Rodgers is not coming to the Steelers. It's proof right there. The Steelers have no interest in Aaron Rodgers. It was Aaron Rodgers that wanted to come to the Steelers, but we don't want him. We could have got him last year if we really wanted him because of this bromance between him and Mike Tomlin. No. Push that away too. Get that off of my screen. Okay, no Shadur Sanders, no Aaron Rodgers. Let's just look at what we have. It's either Fields or Wilson. The obvious choice is Fields. I don't know why it's that hard, guys. Let's keep Justin Fields and let's draft a quarterback. It's really not that difficult. Let's move on to the next topic today, and that is wide receiver rumors. Now, this is a big one because this has a little bit more, out there than the quarterback position. I do believe the starting quarterback for the Steelers next year will be a guy that was on the roster last year, Fields or Wilson. But for the wide receiver position, it is completely different. We are looking at George Pickens potentially being traded away. Steelers are looking at moving on from GP, so that could be huge. But right now, what we have to look at is all of the buzz that is surrounding the free agent wide receivers. And the reason why people anticipate the Steelers making a splash at wide receiver is so that they can move on from George Pickens. The trade value of George Pickens is still relatively high because of his age, because of his contract. And the Steelers could get a decent chunk for him, but then they would have to pay somebody else in free agency, such as a T. Higgins. And that brings me to my next point. T. Higgins is a favorite to be acquired by the Steelers. The Steelers are listed among front runners to land Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. Now, I predict him to go to the New England Patriots personally, but I could see the Steelers making a big splash, replacing George Pickens with T. Higgins, a little bit more steady receiver, if you know what I mean, a little bit more even-keeled as well. So performance-wise and mentality-wise, T. Higgins a safer option than George Pickens. Obviously, if you want to bet on the potential, you stick with GP, but T. Higgins is the man, and he showed that as the Bengals were trying to make the playoffs down the stretch, and he has for years been really good with Joe Burrow. But that level of quarterback play is not something the Steelers necessarily have, so I'm not 100% sure how much he would succeed in our system, but I'm still all for it if it would be something that would happen. I really like T. Higgins, so I'd be all about the Steelers possibly acquiring T. Higgins. But that starts with moving on from George Pickens. If you get a guy like T. Higgins, you're not going to pair him with Pickens. They're the same type of receiver. They're big body, go up and get it type of guys. You get one or the other. So if they move on from George Pickens, which is the report, that's when they would bring in a guy such as T. Higgins to kind of compensate for the loss of George Pickens. Now, George Pickens, he's a fan favorite still, despite his attitude, but there's just a lot more going on there. You saw what happened with Antonio Brown. You saw what happened with Chase Claypool. You see what's happening with Deontay Johnson. Steelers fans and Steelers insiders are worried that George Pickens is the next guy to add his name to that list. Steelers have had all these bad behavior wide receivers. Even think back to Martavis Bryant. I mean, it's been a thing for the Steelers for a while, right? So nothing new. We got to dig into the rumor mill every once in a while and kind of see where we're standing right now. And where we're standing right now is that Steelers are looking at some big changes, some wholesale changes this upcoming season, and that starts with the quarterback position and the wide receiver position. Now, if you don't want to go after a wide receiver in the free agent market, your other option is to draft one. And if you draft one, your best option is in the first round to get Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, the Ohio State, who is probably going to win the national championship on Monday. It sucks to say that as a Penn State fan. It hurts me to say that, but they are the best team in the nation, and they deserve to win the national championship. Emeka Egbuka has been playing fantastic, and to actually show some skill playing on the opposite side of Jeremiah Smith, the guy that's getting all the attention over there at Ohio State. This is a wide receiver factory. I mean, any guy I can get from that team, I'm going to take. And if Emeka Egbuka is available at the Steelers pick, I am grabbing him immediately. And if you can't get him, you got to get Isaiah Bond in the second round, or Elict Yomanor, I believe is how you pronounce his name. There's a lot of them. We're going to talk about that in a mock draft video that I do. Next video that I do is going to be a mock draft video. I can tell you that right now. So that's something to look forward to. We love the offseason because we love mock drafts. We love talking about all these different possibilities. And another crazy possibility is the last thing I'm going to throw at you guys today, Davante Adams possibly being a Pittsburgh Steeler is something that has come up recently. Adams said he would love to play for Mike Tomlin 100%. I love Mike. Anytime you have a coach that's a player's coach and you can tell me they've got away with their guys, those are the types of coaches that always win me over. I have nothing but respect for him. So obviously Davante Adams will be open to coming to the Steelers. Now, one of the weird things with Davante Adams is that he always wants Aaron Rodgers to be his quarterback, so I wouldn't want that to kind of factor in. I don't want Aaron Rodgers, and we said we don't have interest in Aaron Rodgers. So the Davante Adams rumor might be a little bit more out there for for that reason, but it's still a rumor nevertheless, and there's no limitations on rumors. I mean, we're just reporting on the buzz that's out there right now. We're not saying any of this is actually going to happen. We're just telling you, hey, these are the options. Ibuka we could go get. We could go get T. Higgins. We could go get Devontae Adams. I mean, Isaiah Vaughn in the second round. There's a lot of options for the Steelers, or they could just keep George Pickens. So my bet is to go get Justin Fields, to sign him to that 3-year contract that he deserves after this past season, and then draft Emeka Ibuka in the first round. Oh my, that would be great. I wouldn't even mind keeping George Pickens, to be honest. You wouldn't have to get rid of George Pickens and Emeka Ibuka with Calvin Austin in the slot. Come on, guys. So that's going to do it for this episode of Steelers Digest. We're going to have plenty of draft, offseason, trade, all this coverage coming up here during the offseason. Most eventful offseason in Steelers history. Let's get it. So stay tuned on the channel, Steelers Digest. Subscribe if you haven't already. I've been Remington Coon. I'm going to see you guys on the next episode of Steelers Digest. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.